Okay, I want to shout out Devin on Facebook. Devin is always sending me stories. I'm trying to get caught up, you know, ever since I went on my little trip to Vegas. And it's crazy. I know y'all heard about the shootout that happened on the Strip. Y'all, when I tell you, when I was getting sent the story, my heart sank because I was like, what? We was just there. We was not even there just a few days ago, and then the whole shootout happened. And, you know, rest in peace to that cab driver and to the, you know, to the rapper that was killed. I'm just glad we left when we did leave. With that being said, Devin wanted to know my opinion on this new reality show that's supposed to be airing. It's called Strip Club Queens of Atlanta. So the trailer hit World Star Hip Hop about a week or so ago, and it's a trip. And I watched it. And let me start by saying this. If you guys have been on my channel for any length of time, or if you follow me on Twitter, you know I have no issues with strippers. I've been to the strip club before. You want to spend your check and spend it on a stripper to dance for you, that's on you. They're not putting a gun to your head. They're not forcing anybody to go into the strip club. That's an occupation like anything else. And, you know, but as far as this reality show goes, this reality show is a trip. I'm going to go ahead and play you guys a trailer, and then I'll come back with the rest of my commentary.
Women, they really don't like my white ass being over there, and I can dance. I don't dance like a white girl.
I have my issues with that motherfucker. She walks around. She feels like women of color like myself, cats, we're donkeys in the club. She calls us horses.
Blah, blah, blah. I called her a horse. I'm sorry. Well, not really.
No, financially, though, a bitch paid.
I don't think I look like a fucking graham cracker. I might be a cracker, whatever that means, but that's racism. You know what I'm saying? If I was to say the word nigga, I would be a fucking racist motherfucker, but you call me a cracker, it's a fucking huge difference, and I don't say that shit.
The bitch went over to work last night looking like a little monkey with a wig on. Every chance I get out, I beat that hoe.
She's the token white girl because our pretty white girl left right now. She got saddlebags on her ass. It should have so many ass shots and shit. That shit look like straight saddlebags. Fuck that bitch.
20, 30 black girls, and she still have the audacity to call us animals or to call somebody else a bitch. Like, where do you get off? You ain't scared you're gonna get your ass whooped?
I think we should just all get along, just like MLK said back in the day. I have a dream. I have a dream that black girls will get the fuck over it and know times have changed. Shit is over. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have a mixed kid. It's gonna be light skin. He gets a flying fuck what color the skin is. MLK on that, bitches. Run it.
I tell you one thing, it's gonna take you a team, baby, because can't nobody take this.
Okay, so y'all just watched that ratchet ass trailer, and that's just a small piece of it. The trailer is 6 minutes long, and I'll post a link down below so you can watch the entire trailer, but that's just a small piece. It's a trip. You know, I guess what kind of bothers me with the whole situation, and it's not the strippers, it's not necessarily the stripping lifestyle. I don't like the fact that they're really trying to glamorize it, because a lot of people go through so much in that industry. You know, it's not as glamorous as people think. Yes, these girls are making money, and yes, there's a potential to make a lot of money, but there's so many other pitfalls that befall a lot of these women who join that industry. With that being said, I also don't like the fact that, I swear, I love Atlanta. That's like my second home. I love the A. But it seems like all the ratchet TV shows are now being filmed in Atlanta. You know, back when we were growing up, you always looked at Atlanta as like the black Mecca. That's where you saw a lot of successful black people, black entrepreneurs. Atlanta was seen as something beautiful back in the day, but now it's almost just seen as a ratchet place. You know, you had the Shawty Low show that was going to air. You had this strip club show that's going to air. You had the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Love and Hip Hop, ATL. So you have a lot of crazy stuff that's going on in Atlanta. And so people have this misconception that Atlanta is just basically filled with nothing but strippers, gold diggers, pimps, ballers, rappers, promoters. And that's not true. You know, when you go to the A and you go to Atlanta and you really get to know people down there, you have people down there with degrees. There are so many educated people in Atlanta. There are some people who are about their money in Atlanta, business people down there. So everybody in Atlanta is not ratchet. Everybody in Atlanta is not a stripper. Everybody in Atlanta is not running around with 15 kids by 15 different women. They're just showing a small segment of the population. But for that reason, they keep showing Atlanta in that light. And I'm starting to think it's maybe because it's more of a black city and they're trying to make it look ratchet just because there's so many black folks down there. I'm not saying that Atlanta does not have its ratchet parts. As we all know it does, because you seen how Darren Long was out there tasing all them ratchet people at that mall. So Atlanta has its bad parts, but Atlanta also has its good parts. And I hate the fact that they never showed that when it comes to the A. Okay, so another thing about the trailer I found funny was the white girl. First of all, how come all the white girls in these trailers all sound and look like Kim Zolciak from The Real Housewives? This girl sounds like she smokes about 5 packs a day. She goes on to quote MLK. You know, I just found that whole little speech was just tacky. It was uncalled for. Don't mix MLK with your bullshit ratchetness. You know, if you want to have a mixed baby, a little light-skinned baby with good hair, whatever she was in the video saying, that's fine. That's your choice. But MLK don't have nothing to do with that. You know, and I just hate, like, the whole dynamic, how they're trying to make it look like all the black girls at the club are jealous of her because she's the token white girl. And, you know, and again, like I said in the video about the Real Mistresses of Atlanta, some black man has boosted up and has her thinking that she's so much prettier, so much better than your typical black woman, when that's not the case. She's a pretty girl. There's nothing wrong with her, but her attitude just stinks, as do most of the girls in this trailer. You know, most of them are just full of themselves. Most of them have really funny attitudes, but I understand it's a reality show and they have to bring the drama. But again, I'm going to be curious to see if anybody boycotts this show. You know, because they boycotted the Shawty Low show, and I was not behind the damn boycott, you know, contrary to popular belief. I had nothing to do with that shit. But they boycotted that show because it made, you know, people look bad. It made families look bad. So I'm wondering if they're going to end up boycotting this show as well with the strippers. So it's going to be interesting to see if this show ends up airing. So anyways, go ahead, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this. And if you want to watch the whole trailer, I'm going to go ahead and post a link down below. But give me your thoughts. Will you watch this show? Will you support the show? And then how do you feel about, you know, what Atlanta is today? Because the Atlanta of today is not the Atlanta of yesteryear. So go ahead, leave a comment. All right, deuces.